amazed to see this full house. I wish Mr. Kalmadi equal luck. Mr. Hindal Sengupta and friends, I'm truly grateful to the United Nations Millennium Campaign India for giving a notorious skeptic like me the indubitable honor of inaugurating this series of nationwide presentations on the 8 component elements of the Millennium Development Goals adopted by heads of government at the United Nations at the commencement of this millennium and dedicated to the overarching aim of substantially ridding our planet of the scourge of poverty within the first 15 years of this new century. We are now into 10 years of the 15-year program, and the UN General Assembly is scheduled to review at its forthcoming annual session commencing later this month the progress made towards achieving the noble objectives of the Millennium Development Goals. The Government of India, responsible for harboring the largest number in the world of the desperately poor, the marginally poor, the vulnerable, and the hungry, has of course been in the forefront of informing the international community of our performance. Our MDG country report was released by the Honorable Vice President on 29 June 2010. Goal number 1 is the eradication of extreme poverty and hunger. Those are the specific words, it's a quotation. The eradication of extreme poverty and hunger. The other 7 goals address other supporting dimensions of multidimensional poverty, such as universalizing primary education, promoting gender equality, drastically reducing child mortality, promoting maternal health, combating deadly diseases like HIV, AIDS, and malaria, ensuring environmental stability, and forging a global partnership for development. This series of lectures will range across the entire spectrum of MDGs. I propose in this inaugural address to concentrate on the major systemic lacuna which I believe, unless addressed with great urgency, will cripple all our endeavors to even vaguely approximate to the achievement of the Millennium Development Goals. To set the stage for a discussion on this major systemic lacuna, let me explore first the Indian performance and prospects in regard to the key target prescribed by the MDG, the reduction by half of those living on less than $1 a day, calculated at purchasing power price, and also by reducing by half the proportion of people suffering from hunger. The India country report says, it is not plausible. Again, that's a quote. It's a quote from our country report. It is not plausible to estimate the number of people surviving on under $1 a day. So it seems we've pledged ourselves to reducing the number under $1 a day, while at the same time affirming that we don't know who's under $1 a day. This is because we are perhaps the only country in the world to calculate poverty ratios in terms of reported consumption expenditure rather than income earned. We also do not favor categorizing the poor into different brackets of consumption expenditure, but resort to a cut-off figure of 12 rupees per day in rural and 17 rupees per day in urban areas to then establish that in the 30 years from 1973-74 to 2004-5, poverty has indeed diminished by half, from 55 to 27%. What proportion of those sprung from the poverty trap have gone just across the 12 rupee threshold from a consumption expenditure of 11 rupees a day 30 years ago to 13 rupees a day 13 years later is alas not revealed. Since we do not categorize consumption beyond the singular national poverty line, everyone is either BPL, below poverty level, or APL, above poverty level. In consequence, the Darwan standing outside the Reliance office is APL. So also are the Ambanis living or working within. Similarly, several 100 million households that are vulnerable because the least illness or ill fortune will plunge them back below the official poverty line within weeks, are classified as APL, and only the utterly destitute are classified as BPL. The figures are stark. Over 47% of our children under 5 years of age are from severely to moderately malnourished. The tragic consequence of about 9 out of 10 pregnant Indian women suffering from moderate to severe anemia. The severely malnourished and anemic are BPL. The moderately malnourished and anemic are APL. Except in the Arjun Sengupta Committee report of August 2007, official India does not regard the vulnerable as poor. Hence, so long as there is a reduction of those below an arbitrarily defined national poverty line, we claim to be overcoming poverty. How arbitrary is the national poverty line is revealed by the 2009 Tendulkar Committee report, which simply by tweaking the rural poverty line from 12 rupees a day to 15 rupees a day, and urban poverty from 17 rupees a day to 19 rupees a day, that is, by a mere 3 rupees in rural and 2 rupees in urban India, says poverty levels in our country are not 27%, as hitherto officially maintained, but nearer 37%, thereby putting paid to the India Country Report claim that poverty has been reduced by half over the past 30 years, although what the MDG seeks is a reduction by half of extreme poverty and hunger over the next 15 years, that is from 2000 to 2015. Thus, while on the one hand official India says we just do not maintain the statistics that would enable us to show whether or not we have attained the MDG of slashing by half those living under $1 a day, we also claim, on the basis of a methodology discredited by none less than Dr. S. Tendulkar, the chairman of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Board, that it took us 30 years to slash notional poverty by half, but we do not know whether we will do so within the 15-year period of the MDG, because we just do not know the truth about income poverty, although we could tell you something about consumption poverty. However, while our government continues to rely on consumption expenditure reported in successive national sample surveys to estimate poverty and prosperity in our country, the National Council of Applied Economic Research NCAER, has been undertaking since 1985 the yeoman task of estimating income rather than expenditure levels. Their task is hugely complicated by the fact that the total national income, which NCAER estimates by asking the large sample surveyed about their respective incomes, constitutes only 53% of the national income of India as shown in our national accounts. Much of this underreporting is accounted for by the rich of India